Right. And so I was asking these questions because one of the things that I found in my studies is that we tend to overcomplicate love, especially as we age and get older. Because now, just how Jr. pointed out, we're carrying on the traumas from the last love story to the next one. So we put up that wall, it goes up inch by inch. We take back more of that vulnerability, the willingness to invest into it, and then of course, uh, how I will word it is simply sabotaging that relationship. So I 100% understand what you're saying, but just with the studies I've done and looking at what we see often in society now, is that we we want that love that we felt when we didn't have um, the things to that we have to tend for, the more important things in life, in which I think really takes away from truly being able to connect with someone that we may be interested in, and essentially sabotaging it.
Is it possible to rekindle a relationship after letting true love slip away? Was it usually a lost cause?
I think it's possible, but is the desire there with both parties? Not always.
Yeah, you got to be willing to. You have to truly be willing to. Um, just like I said with the story of Forrest Gump and Jenny, um, that man was deeply in love with her, and we can only assume that she loved him too. And after all of the years of her hoeing and doing whatever she was doing, he still was there to wife her, to love her regardless. And yeah, we can make fun of Forrest, but to Forrest, he's experienced the deepest level of love. So we can't necessarily use that as something bad against them, because some people will go their entire life without feeling that.
Well, Al, you came off mute.
Um, I mean, to be frank, what popped in my mind again was sounds so wild, but I feel that if I wanted to go back to my ex, I could because I could try to rekindle it, because it's like I'm the one that did the breaking up, right? So, but the desire to what Kelly said is just not there. And for me, it was that 20% of those other parameters that would stop it. So is it possible? Yeah.
So would that would investing another 10% into that, would that be worth it, to experience that connection or passion or uh, bond that the
Mm-mm.
two of you guys had?
No, no, there's just too much going on for him. But it is kind of sad, right? Because I know that there is a lot of love there, but to me, it's just not worth it. There's just too much. There's too much. If I like, but you know what I mean? Would I be living in that love? Yeah, but would it be messy and all that other stuff? And it'd be too much. Like I know myself as an individual that I would just have too much anxiety over it. That having that amount of anxiety wouldn't work for me.
Let me just ask a question to the lady. So, if we're talking about rekindling a relationship, would you guys say that it would be easier if the band broke it off to rekindle versus you guys breaking it off and rekindling?
I don't think it would be easier if the man broke it off. I think it would be easier if the woman broke it off because she put it into it, because she wanted to move on. So if she wanted to reignite that, the ball is kind of in her court. If he didn't agree with the breakup, if there was still something inside of him, that wanted to stay, then
I think that if both parties are or have worked on whatever it was that worked to the demise of the relationship, and there's a mutual attraction, I definitely think that it's a space to, to rekindle things and to grow things. But like somebody said earlier, it definitely depends on a person's willingness to put that work in.
I think there's so many factors to really consider when it comes to like rekindling. I don't really see people really plan it. It's just something that happens. It may not be necessary right away, but it may cross paths or come across somebody's social. Maybe y'all unfollow each other and then it just pops up out of nowhere. Or you're at an event and you see somebody, oh, guess who I ran into? And then maybe the rekindle might happen there. But it all depends. There's so many different variables. Like, how did you guys break up? What was the reasoning? Because some people just can't get over or forgive whatever that whatever the situation it was. It could just be damaging. Like, I just have no respect for that man or I have no respect for that woman uh, at during the time of the exit. So there's just a lot of different variables when it comes to the whole rekindle. Is it possible? Anything's possible. Is it likely? It varies depending on how you guys separated.
I
You
mean,
know,
look at Ashanti and Nelly. They're back together and they were
yeah.
apart for a long time. And it's wild because I actually have a friend. He did, like, just a friend. I was like, how have you been? And he's like, oh, I'm back with my ex. And I was like, oh, really? And I'm like, what was the story behind that? It was similar to Kelly's, where he had dated this girl in like high school. They were together for some years. They separated for like 15 years. And like now they're like full blown in love, back together, getting a house, having a baby. And I'm like so like happy for them. Like, like wow, like you can just, they're oozing this love. And he explained it to me so well. He was like, I know her. Like we grew up together. Like there's just such a deep level of understanding. Like this is my person. I don't know why, but everything happened for a reason and they found each other again. And I'm like, oh my God, I can't wait for the wedding. Like it's a beautiful thing to like witness when you see something like that happen in real life in your social circle.
Mm,
So it's like that, I think, is a perfect example of, can it be rekindled? Absolutely.
yeah.
Yeah, hey, Kelly, that's your omen to go ahead and send that hey big head text.
Oh no, I'm not interested in moving backwards. That's when I was a baby. I'm grown now. I'm Big Kelly now.
Well, they
Mhm.
say you have three loves, right? You have your puppy love, your love learned, and then your one true love. So.
Yeah, no, that's old news. We've moved up and onward since then.
Yeah, I did work with a couple because I film weddings, and I worked with a couple that dated throughout high school. A little bit after that, broke up, um, was split for like 10, 12 years, got back together, and then of course they got married. And I would say that wedding definitely was a beautiful experience, simply because often sometimes men would try to hold in the vulnerability of being in that moment. And before we did the first touches, where the bride will come out behind them and just kind of like touch his hand, and they have a moment where they don't see each other, they just hear and feel each other. And before she came out, he was like, "Man, bro, man, we made a bet, that I ain't gonna cry. I'm gonna try and keep it G, hold it in, woo, woo, woo." I'm like, "No, fuck that, bro. You know what I'm saying? This is your moment. This is the moment. If that's what you feel, be in that moment. You know what I'm saying? Because this the first and hopefully the last time that you're going to experience this. So take it all in. You know what I'm saying? Be vulnerable." And as soon as he heard his wife coming out, that boy started crying. And then of course, for us as a videographer, photographer, those are those beautiful moments that we want, because it's raw emotions. You know what I'm saying? There's no filter to it. So I know that it can absolutely happen, but both parties just simply have to put the work in.